All right. Hey, everyone. This is Scott Thompson, Senior Manager at Schwab Coaching. Great to be here with you again today. Last week, we tried to tell a story or convince you that time is one of your greatest assets. We had a survey, and I appreciate everyone taking some time to fill that out. One of the biggest questions that we had there was, well, okay, great. You convinced me I need to invest. What do I invest in? So today, we're going to go through some examples of what people will do in order to start their investing process. All right, so let's look at some disclosures first and remind everyone that the information we cover today is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered an individual recommendation or personalized investment. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as the sole means of investment research. We are going to be showing paper money. That's a very different application than your real money, but it's a great practicing tool. And for today, again, I want to show some different ways that people invest in the market. And the very first one I want to go through is just a really simple example plan here. We talked a little bit about this last time, is to invest $5 per day in something that follows the S&P 500. Now, some traders will use an ETF or a mutual fund to do this. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that the $5 every day works out to about $7.24 per trading day, okay? And so the way that you figure that out is just I took 365 days for the year times $5. That's about $1,825 that you're investing over the course of a year. And that's 252 trading days during the year. So that works out to 724. Now, if the broker you're using doesn't have a really automated system of doing this, then you could do this on a weekly basis, which is about $35 per week, or you could do it on a monthly basis of about $152 or so per month. So those are the ways that people will start this. I'll cover this later in what we're going to do a live only session. It won't be recorded because we're going to show an ETF at the end of our webcast today, but we're going to go through a method of number 2 is how to invest in what, and we're going to choose the top 10 holdings of the S&P 500, okay? And we're going to do that on the first trading day of each week. You could consider using the Schwab stock slices or other fractional share method. Now, stock slices is not intended to be investment advice or a recommendation of any stock. It's just what we're going to use for our examples to help you figure out kind of some different ways to get started in your investing. Again, this is stock investing for beginners. I know many of you have been around for a long time. I see Will and Janelle and Eva and George and just everybody that's always here, and appreciate your support. For you, I want you to tell your children and your grandchildren about this stuff. All right. Now, next time we meet, I'm going to give you a little teaser right here, is we're going to work on creating our own investing plan. If you want to be a little bit more involved in the market, we're going to create our own investing plan. We'll cover that next time. And we're going to cover these 6 bullet points. What's the objective of the investing plan? How do we decide which stocks we're going to put on our watch list, which is what to buy? Then we're going to look at determining an entry signal. We'll use some real simple technical analysis there on that. We're going to establish some risk parameters. We're going to determine our exit signals. And then we're going to talk about our daily and weekly routine. But we're going to do that next time. So what I want to do right now is I want to show you the Schwab stock slices. So this is a fantastic tool. The way you get here is after you log into the schwab.com, go to the trade page, and if you click on stock slices over here. Now, again, remember, stock slices are not intended to be investment advice or recommend any stock, but we're going to choose what's the top 10 in this S&P 500, okay? So this is how this works. You go through and you can go up to 30 stocks, and you can look at the list and you just choose the ones. Now, the top 10 for the S&P 500 tracking tool has these stocks in it, all right? Apple, Amazon, AVGO, which is Broadcom, BRK/B, Costco, Google, but it's got, or I guess Alphabet, it's got GOOGL and GOOG. So we're just going to use the GOOGL, and then Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. So the way that stock slices work is you just come down and select the stock that you want, and then you can page over. There's like 30, 25 pages of this, so you have to kind of go through. I'm not going to do all of those now, but once you do that, they'll be up here at the top. Okay, so here we have our top 10 holdings at the top, and when you go to the next step, okay, after you've got all those done, you click here, continue, and that'll take you to the list. So here's the list of those 10 stocks: Apple, Amazon, Broadcom, Berkshire Hathaway, Costco, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla. Okay, and then you decide, well, how much are you going to put in there? Well, the minimum for each of these stocks is $5. So if we're doing the top 10, this will be $50 per week or $200 per month. And again, we're talking here about getting things started. This is coming out of college, maybe coming out of high school. They don't have a lot of money necessarily. And $200 a month may not work. This may have to be $50 a month for whoever's there, right? But the thing is we want to talk about just the process of automating this investing, and this stock slices is a great way to do that. Okay, so after you put the amount that you want to invest, you just click review your selection, and that'll take you over to here, and you pick your account, and then it gives you a little bit of a summary of what you're going to trade. And here's kind of the cool part: estimated total shares. What do you see there? So just so I can know that how many shares of Apple are we buying? Does everyone see that? Go ahead and type that in. But it's 0.0254 shares. So it's a very small amount here. All right. And so we're going to buy some Amazon. We're going to buy some Broadcom. But you can see these are partial shares or fractional shares, or what Schwab calls stock slices, right? So, it's kind of cool the way this works. And then at the bottom here, you just click send order or review order. Okay, so I'm going to come down here, place your orders, and then those orders would buy in your real account, which is really fun. Okay, now here's how it works now for execution in our real life. Is we're trying to practice this because one of the things that happens is paper money does not allow stock slices. But let me show you how to do it in your Thinkorswim, which is really cool. Okay, so here we are going over to Thinkorswim, and here's our top 10 holdings. And you can kind of see here, I had 11. I deleted Netflix because it was, just so high priced. I took it out of the list. Okay, but let me actually show you how to change the name here. We created a group. Okay, so let me show you that. If you click over here at the right side of the position statement line, you can click add group. And if you do that, then you can name the group. And I just named this particular group top 10s. And we had 11 the first time because it was the top 10 of NASDAQ and S&P 500. But I'm going to change this here to 50. So after you name it, you click OK. But now I got to change the name. So let me show you how to edit it. Okay, over here, go to the menu, go to rename group, and it just has the whole list there. And I'm just going to arrow over. And I just want to change 55 to 50. And then we'll click OK. It asks if you're sure you want to do that. And now the name's changed. All right. Now, I've already started doing this. I don't know if you remember back in the day before you had a remote control for your TV. I don't know how it was at your house, but at my house, I was the remote. Scott, go up and change it to channel 4. Then I'd come back and sit down. Scott, go up and change that to channel 5. Then I come back and sit down. So what I want to do is show you kind of how to be the remote control here. So I'm going to click first at the bottom on Tesla and show you, this is our view. So on our class last week, I bought 0.017 shares of Tesla in our paper money account. And then this morning, I bought 0.015 shares because the price was a little bit higher. So I'll be doing this for everybody every week on Monday. We'll go ahead and update this, but I want to show you how to do it. So I didn't do the top 4 here. So let me show you how to adjust this as we go through. So you right click on the symbol, and I'm going to do this 4 times. So by the time we're done, you should have an idea of how to do this. But right click on the symbol, click adjust position. Okay, and then this is the current price right here. And if we're doing $5 per stock, then I need to go over to my calculator, okay, and take 197.88. Let's remember that. Okay, and go $5 divided by 197.88. Okay, and so I can buy 0.025 shares of Apple. And the price just changed a little bit, but we'll use 88. So what do? Right click, adjust position, and we're going to do 0.025 shares. And at the time it was 88. So I'm just going to put 88 on there and hit enter and click OK. Now what happens, just because I didn't know how this worked in paper money, is it'll actually put that order down here in your unallocated. Okay, so we want to move this back up now to our group. Okay, how do we move something from our unallocated to a group? We're going to right click, move to group, and we're going to choose this top 10. Okay, now watch the shares. I've got 0.0248 shares here now. And if I move that up, now I have 0.049 shares. Okay, so it does look like we're getting a survey in the chat there. So please take a moment to fill that out. Love to hear your feedback and suggest what you'd like to see in the future. That's the main thing I'd really like to see from you. All right, let's do the next one. Okay, again, I want you to know how to do this. So you guys walk me through it. Well, in your mind, because I can't hear you. But if we want to add a partial share of Amazon in our paper money, what do? Right click, adjust position. We're going to have this price, $215.35. So I'm just going to use a hand calculator because I don't want to close this down. So if I take $5, which we're investing in each of these top 10 stocks, divided by the 215.35, that's 0.023. So we're going to buy 0.023 shares, hit enter, adjust. Where's it going to end up? It's not up here. It's down here in unallocated. How do we move it from unallocated up here? We right click, move to group, and now watch those shares. We have 0.22023, and it'll move. So now I pop 0.046, right? Everybody see that? Okay, we're gonna do the same thing for AGO. What do? Right click, adjust position, and we're gonna take our hand calculator, $5, divide by that 254.38 price, and this is 0.0196, so we'll go 0.2. It will round up. 0.02 shares, hit enter, click OK. And again, it's down here in the unallocated. We're going to right click, move it up to our group. We're going to see 02 change to probably 0.04. Okay. And then last one, Berkshire Hathaway. Right click, adjust position, take $5, divide by 490.28. And that's 0.010 shares. Hit enter. Okay. Ends up in unallocated. Right click on it, move it to our group. And now we have all of them. And I did the other ones because I didn't want to do all of them in our class today because I want to get to some questions. But now if I click on the P&L open, I can see my history, right? 6/9, 6/16. And I have the shares over here. If you move that over, you can kind of see the quantity. All right. Does everybody see that? So, and I've done this for all of them already for today. I just wanted to show how to do 4 of them so you guys get the process. Okay, now one of the comments that I saw in the survey last week was, man, that looks like a lot of work. It is, and in paper money, it's all manual, but your broker might have some automated method of doing it where you can just do it every week, you program it in, and that's kind of the idea. We just don't have that available in paper money, so I'm showing how to do that automated process. Okay, all right. Now, just checking here to see if there's any questions. Scott, can you show how to use ThinkBack and sharpen trading skills in future class? Not in this class. So we'll, ThinkBack. In fact, I think Mike in his class on Thursday just did a ThinkBack demo. So that was in ThinkScripting. So there is that. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so there was a comment about adding groups to your real pages. You can do that. It is available. All right. So looks like we're at about 15 minutes here. Let me give you a little heads up, a little bit of a teaser for next week, and then we'll go through the details there. But I'm going to pull up a stock here. You can see that I have a plan. This was, when we went over the slides this morning, we talked about creating our own trading plan. Using that set of rules, I bought 2 shares of Disney. So let me give you just a little bit of a teaser for next time we meet. And let's go to the charts real quick here. And let me maximize Disney. And so the way this plan works, and we'll go over it in more detail next time, but the way the plan works is, if you want to be a little more active in your investing, you're not a short-term trader. This particular plan is going to be what I would call intermediate to maybe longer term. Intermediate time frames run about 6 to 9 months for most people. And there's a comment there about dividend stocks. Sure. You could concentrate on the dividend stocks. There's lots of different ways to invest and lots of different tracking funds like ETFs or mutual funds that track different things. And, this is just one way we're doing it. Okay. Now, here's the introduction to this plan that we'll talk about more next time. Is we're going to look at the S&P 100. That's going to be our watch list. Okay. Which is a public list that's available. Just if you go over here to watch list and click public list down here, S&P 100. Okay. But because we're starting out and we don't have a lot of money, what I did, and I'll show you again next week, we'll do this, is I did a scan in the S&P 100 for stocks between $20 and $220. So it's eliminating anything above that. All right. So that's our watch list. And as we go through here, we're looking at a 50 period moving average. I'm going to right click on this. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And again, I'll go through the details next time when we meet, because I want to go through this. And the question is can we use this in a cash platform? Absolutely. This is just buying stock. So you could do this in cash, margin, IRA, that type of stuff. All right. Now, we've got our watch list, like our what to buy. In fact, let me just go over real quickly here to the slide we looked at. Okay, so the objective we talked about is to buy and hold S&P 100 stocks that are trending up and just hold them until the trend is over. That's the objective. Which stocks are we going to use? S&P 100 between $20 and $220. Okay, now the next part is when do we buy? When to buy, that's the entry signal. When do we get into this? Okay, so again, I just use a real simple method is if the stock's above a rising, okay, 50 period moving average, and the MACD histogram, again, we'll talk more details next week, but if that MACD histogram gives a green arrow and the stock is above that rising 50-period moving average, we're going to call that a buy signal, okay? And I'm going to go backwards for a second, and let's go one more day. Okay, so do you guys see what I'm seeing? Okay, right here, when the stock goes above that 50-period moving average, we get a green arrow, and then the MACD at the time was green. But why is this not a buy signal? Well, the moving average was still falling. We don't know if it's going to gap up and then fall back down. We're waiting for the trend to kind of start up. So the stock went up a little bit. The MACD came down, gave a red arrow right here. Like, let me change this so my arrow's a little bit bigger. Okay, so red arrow here. And then the buy signal for this very simple plan, which we're going to go into the details next time, is when this turns green. And right there we have a green arrow. We may want to wait till the end of the day. And actually the way this works is I got in the trade the next day, and now we're in the trade. And right now we're up a little bit, it looks like. We go to monitor tab. I bought 2 shares of Disney, and we're up $1.94. Okay, so again, a little bit of a teaser for next time. Let's take a look here. The question is, can you clarify where you started from the home page to get each of these pages? So in the thinkorswim platform, the monitor page is right here. When you first log in, you have this home screen up. So what you want to do there is just go to the monitor tab. And when you first get in there, Judy, you're not going to see anything in here because you don't have any positions. So what you'll need to do is go to the trade page, and then you can just type in that first symbol, which was Apple. And then you can place a trade on the Apple. If you click the ask price, that'll put up an order here. And I have mine set for just 1 share, but we're not even going to be buying 1 share when we first start because we're only buying $5 worth of it, right? So we'll cover that again some more in detail over the coming weeks, but the idea is to create a portfolio of those top 10 stocks and to buy some partial shares each time. And again, the way you do that, right click on the symbol, adjust the position, and then you divide $5 into this number here, and that'll give you like a decimal point. Okay. All right. Now, this is what I wanted to cover for our live recorded session today. Remind everyone that, none of the stocks we talked about today are meant to be recommendations. Stock slices is not intended to be investment advice, not a recommendation of any particular stock. And now what we're going to do is end this section. So let me go back over here to our slides just real quick. And again, this is our teaser for next week. Thank you for being here, everybody. If you can join me live, great. We're going to have a live-only session as part of our Monday classes on a regular basis, maybe not every week, but just be aware of that. So